All right, you got a tease there. We're talking about a Kamado style grill. This is the Japanese slash Korean. I think it came from China to Korea to Japan. Anyway, often referred to as like the big egg, green egg. I think that's the biggest company out there doing this. This is one brought to you by a company called London Sunshine. And yes, as a matter of fact, fun fact, dumbest name ever on this channel. Just straight up idiotic. I don't know what to do. We've seen a lot of stupid names, folks. Prove me wrong. Find another product that we've reviewed on this channel before that had a dumber name than London Sunshine. Unless there's an Alaskan heat out there I don't know about, I don't know what it is. Dumb name aside, the question is it a bad product? Is it a good product? We got a huge cook coming up, or we just did. My son, Duncan, just turned 18, and we had practically the whole town turned out. We did a bunch of elk. We did some bison. We had an entire rack, an entire slab of ribeye sliced up, and we did all those steaks on this grill, one single cook. Let's see what happened. All right, we got a whole ribeye, we got some bison, and these are elk steaks. So we're gonna break this one down, then we're gonna season everything. We're gonna do about inch cut on these. Gotta square up this end. Okay, now we're using this knife just to show you the difference in cutting with this. So this is clearly going to cut better, but it's not nearly as portable as something like that. All right, we got the ribeyes here. There's the bison. We got elk. Some of the trimmed fat we're going to break down. And we're doing this on the London Sunshine. This is a Kamado style grill. We got to see we're right at 300. We've done the cook off to kind of sterilize the grill, get it ready. Now we're trying to bring the temps down to mid 200s here before we start cooking. All right, let's throw some of this bison on here. We're going to start off with that. There we go. Does that help? No. There we go. And magically, those bison ribeyes turned into grass-fed ribeyes. Now, we just got caught up with the party and everything, but here's some of the beef ribeyes they're cooking off on the grill. Now, let's talk real quick about the price and stuff, and then we'll get into my thoughts, because I think the price kind of weighs into that. So we're looking at for something like this is $240, call it what it is. Now you can buy it directly from Amazon, but it's sold by a company called Click My Cart. Now it ships from Amazon. I'm not sure who Click My Cart is, although I do get the feeling, I did a little bit of research, the main company, London Sunshine, what an idiotic name. Anyway, I think they're probably the same company. If you go to Click My Cart, the number one product they show there is this. I think it's just they sell a bunch of stuff on Amazon. That's how they sell it. Anyway, same price there, $240 on London, $240 on Amazon. Personally, for me, I would probably buy from Amazon just because I'd feel more secure, and then where it came from, I mean, that's up to you. But that said, this is this something that you need? Well, boy, that's a question. How did the steaks turn out? They did okay. I am an admitted steak snob, and I've spent the last 3 or 4 years perfecting my steak technique, and I'm good enough to the point where I prefer my steaks. In fact, everyone in my family prefers my steaks over anything you're going to get, even in the best restaurants. I've gone, I was down in Vegas, bought $400 steaks at some of these high-end steak restaurants. I've been like, yeah, it's all right. The issue I have with this is that it's as a grill. Well, let me back up. Here's what it does best. It held its temperature like it was locked in there. I mean, I was impressed. I've always wanted to try and play around with one of these. And it did what the number one thing that these things are rated for, which is just holding that temperature. This is a ceramic egg is what it is, okay? Like it's almost an inch thick, and then there's another like cauldron on the inside that holds it. In fact, it's to the touch, it's warm, it's kind of hot, but you could probably handle it with gloves. You can definitely handle it. I did. So the thing I liked about it is it just locked in that temperature, and it sips charcoal, man. I bought a huge bag of charcoal. We maybe used a couple handfuls. Once I got it going, between the top vent and the bottom vent, you can just dial in that temp. I was stunned how easy it was to control it. That's the good. The bad might be everything else. Now, the first thing when I see something like this is I think portability. The thing weighs, well, it's 23 kilograms. Alexa, what's 23 kilograms in pounds? This is not a light.
Kilograms is about 50 pounds.
50 pounds. All right, sorry for setting off your device. Anyway, it's 50 pounds. It's not lightweight. The lid does not lock. For something to be portable like this, and have this lid that can flop around, especially since it's ceramic and can break, I want to be able to lock that lid. Also, the little stand it sits in, it's a decent little stand. It's kind of fiddly to put together. It's not locked in the stand. It rotates, it comes out, and all sorts of stuff. It is portable in name only. Luggable is what we used to call it in the old computer days. We call them luggables. If you were going to use it as, like my first thought, being an RVer myself, I could see, especially some of those full-time RVers, I could see them wanting to get something like this and keep it like in that back kitchen area, the outside kitchen. You would have to get some bungee straps or ratchet straps to hold the whole thing together while you travel and kind of pat it, kind of baby it, because going down some stretches of road, it would not last otherwise. But if you did, if you're like a hardcore griller smoker and there's only two of you, all right, if you're like, the kids have flown the coop, you're out hitting the road. I got friends who I could totally see doing this. If you're really into cooking and really into smoking kind of stuff, I could totally see doing this. Now, as far as temps, I was able to hold I saw some people saying they couldn't hold a low temp. I was able to hold just under 200 degrees for quite a while. It didn't seem to be a problem. So that's something, I mean, I don't know where you're at, but that's where I'm at with it. It's it's just the build quality is solid. It just doesn't feel like it was designed from the ground up for portability. It feels like they took a big green egg and made it smaller and went, look, it's portable. I could definitely see there being a niche where people want to use this. The other thing is, for smoking, I can totally see it. For cooking a chicken, I can totally see it. I could even see doing like some pulled pork or something on there. People do like mini pizzas on it, stuff like that. You have to get a separate plate thing for it. That's a whole nother yard. It doesn't come, you can't do pizzas like this. I guess you can put a cast iron or do a cast iron pizza. But for steaks, you want to be able to cook them up to a point, and then you want to be able to sear them. But you can't change the temperature easily on this. So you'd have to cook it, take the steaks off, fire it all the way up to get it really roaring, and then put them back on for that sear. Could you do it? Yes. Would it be a huge hassle? Yes. Because the other thing is, once it gets up to temp, it stays there, which means when you want to turn it off, it stays there. So and at $240. Now, it's not the cheapest, it's not the most expensive one out there, but it certainly isn't the cheapest. There's other cheaper. Now, are they as good? I don't know. This is not, I do a ton of pellet grills. I've got some gas grills, pizza ovens. I've done charcoal. This is my first time working with a Kamado style. Am I going to keep it? No, I'm not going to keep it. Probably give it to a buddy of mine who wants to play around with it. He can have all sorts of fun. I did think about turning it into a forge. Like, I wonder if it could handle like enough heat to melt aluminum. But anyway, here's what I will say about some things I did learn about this. All right. Besides the fact it's well made, it's not great at steaks. It can probably do everything else. You could probably do some good smoking. Again, for a limited amount of people, the portability on it's limited. It's more luggable than portable. But let's go into some of the Weber lighter cubes. Okay, so these things, they look like white ice cubes. Fantastic. All right. I hate using lighter fluid. And I was looking for some of these. They look like little mini hay bales. I was looking for some of those locally and nobody had them. So I definitely recommend those. I know a ton of people who use stuff like this. They work great. But these little lighter cubes, we started a couple. I was doing steaks at my station. We had a ton of people. So I had steaks at my station, and we had another one that for more of the kids were doing burgers and dogs and brats and stuff like that. And we started both barbecues using these things. It's just dead easy. No fumes, no mess, no fuss. It's not like a huge roaring fire from these things, but they did exactly what they're supposed to do. I'm going to use them again probably if I keep doing more stuff like this. We talked about those. Somebody had mentioned when I was talking to somebody else about, hey, you can get these little things that plug into it and it's a little fan that blows air and ramps up, aka like a forge, like you do, like the bellows, you pump air into it. Well, I took it a step further and I used a job site blower like this. And I used the Senix one that I have, and I'm not saying, hey, you need the Senix one or anything like this. I'm not saying you need this one either. But if you have one of these job site blowers, definitely try it because use it on a really low power there, and it will get that flame going quick, man. Oh my gosh. So I wanted to do a burn off before I actually put food on this thing. I wanted to sterilize the whole thing. And I got it up to max temp in about 10 minutes using that. It was insane. A lot of fun. And then let's see what else. I stumbled across this. Haven't used it, but just gonna put this out there. For those of you who are looking at like, hey, maybe for RV life, or maybe you're in like a small patio area, there's a niche. I could see a niche where somebody would really like this. I think for the vast majority of people, it's gonna be too small, too finicky, too breakable, but there's a niche of people who will like this. And for those, if you're gonna be using it, I would definitely recommend something like this. If I'm in a long-term stay at an RV site, pull this little thing out, set it up, I could see that. Anyway, $110. Again, everyone's budget's a little bit desperate these days. Oh, a little Freudian slip there. Anyway, I'm definitely not going to say this is something that I'm not going to say I can recommend it. It wasn't bad. It just is, again, it's just for a very narrow market. And if you're in that market, cool. For everyone else, there's a better solution out there for you with a much, much better name. Anyway, let me know what you think down below. Am I being too harsh on this little sucker? Am I missing out? Or did I hit the nail on the head? Let me know what you think down below. While you're down there, don't forget to chomp the old like button, smash that subscribe, ring the bell on the way out. You all take care, God bless, and as always, shine on.